the League Podcast, The Legend of G.I. Joe, Season 2, Episode 1. I'm Matt Dursin.
Clay and Ferno here.
Yeah, G.I. Josh.
Welcome back, G.I. Josh. It's been a while. Thanks. Thanks for coming on.
You're over land and air. That's what you are.
Right. Yo, Josh. Welcome back. Happy New Year to you guys. This is our first podcast of 2024.
Wowee!
Wowee! Indeed. And we've got this is kind of a different thing. Usually we talk about comic books that are like 40 years old. Or something.
And we will talk about comics that are 40 years old. And also, new year, new G.I. Joe universe, new version of a 40-year-old comic. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about, boys. Let's get this G.I. on.
Do you want to start G.I. Joe? Let's G.I. Go.
Let's
G.I. Go.
Let's G.I. Go. Okay, when do we stop singing? When do we stop singing in the episode?
Never.
Do we want to talk about that 40-year-old comic book?
Yeah, let's get it out of the way. Let's because I think it lays a good base to talk, and also listen to our very first Legend of G.I. Joe episode to revisit this comic. G.I. Joe #1, the original, the 1982?
I think. Yeah.
1982. Right? G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, Larry Hama, Herb Trimpe. The classic, the one, the poster that everybody had on their wall. That one.
The poster that everyone had on their wall, huh? I guess it would have been cool if I had that poster, but but all right.
I didn't really, but I pretend that I had stuff that my cousin had all the G.I. Joe toys, so I pretended that I had them too. In my mind.
I had a really cool Masters of the Universe one with like all the good guys on one side and all the bad guys on the other. Not G.I. Joe related, but 80s related.
Yeah, but you're also talking about like now you have that. You're like probably in your office and it's behind you.
Yeah, it's different because now you're just like, I want that poster. I'm gonna go buy it. Whereas back then, you would just somehow come across thing. Let's start out. Yeah, we're talking about the G.I. Joe Real American Hero #1, and it was giant size. It was big, but this is on
nice paper. I have that comic. As you know, I collect them
very well. Yes, I know.
But it's a nice. It's like a comic book store comic, like of the 80s, when they had like the nice, like I think they called it like Baxter paper or something. It's nice. It's not just newsprint.
All right.
But they, so IDW re-released the volumes and reprinted the Marvel comics in trade paperback form when they had the license.
Yes.
And now that Skybound has the license, and I learned a lot about this stuff when I went to New York Comic Con this year, which they didn't invite Larry Hama to, by the way, and he was like kind of like, I never got an invite.
That's weird. That's pretty weird.
It is weird because there was like, I basically went there to go to the G.I. Joe panels, and there was a bunch. So like when Skybound gets the license from IDW and comes out with a relaunch of the numbering, just like they did with IDW at like 142 or something, they picked up the Marvel run, started the numbering just consistently, just at a different publisher, and then IDW ended at 300, and then Skybound, which is Image and Robert Kirkman, they started with Larry Hama 301, so that we've had a consistent run of a Real American Hero. Going back all the way to issue 1, and Legend of G.I. Joe in this feed is in there somewhere. You can look at it on LeaguePodcast.com.
Yeah.
But so Larry Hama had said that something bugged him, and it's only really one panel, and it's in the introduction.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I was going to go back and even look what happened, but
yeah, so
explain.
I can explain, and then we can, maybe read from the text of what he actually said. But they call this the Hama cut, or the Hama cut, because they made a change in the dialogue at Marvel in just one panel when Hawk is giving his speech to the soldiers. And what I think I screenshotted it because I figured we would be talking about it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we can compare. Yeah, I have the two things. He was like really pissed that in his comic that he kind of, it's not like he didn't want to write this, but it was a licensed book, and so he wanted the work, and he figured he was the right man for the job. Like we kind of talked with him a little bit about that. But they changed his whole vibe. Like you can follow him on Facebook and stuff and see like he's like very much like kind of like he's really he was in the military. He's like really into military stuff, but he's not exactly anti-war, but he had a very particular vision for like what this book was about and like what soldiers' philosophies are and things like that. So they had changed just like basically like a panel of dialogue that Hawk said. And he was like always mad about it. Like it's just kind of like one of those things. It's not like a whole Zack Snyder wants to finish his movie and they make like an 8-hour thing. Like this is just one panel. And then he said that also this is just a silent interlude, A Real American Hero 21. There was a coloring mistake that always bothered him, but when they reprinted it at IDW, they fixed it. So he was like, okay, that bothered me. And then I'm going to read what Larry Hama said here in the intro. The main error that stuck in my craw since 1982 has always been the Hawk speech that was rewritten by editorial without my knowledge, which casts a completely different light on the core ethics of the group than I had intended. So he was laying the groundwork. It's issue 1, It led many to assume that I was something I was not, a jingoistic hardliner. Like I'm real, like, excuse the pun, gung-ho for America, yay, war kind of thing. It led many to assume that I was a jingoistic hardliner. I'm extremely grateful to the good folks at Skybound and Hasbro for restoring my original copy. So that's true too. Like, we have to remember that Hasbro owns this just as much as he or Marvel or IDW or Skybound does.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that his take on it sort of was like what people thought he was trying to get across. Like, right? Like it was more, I mean, not that he was like, he's like, yeah, I'm not this crazy warmonger guy, so it's interesting that it's more what he was thinking or what people would think of him.
Yeah, like I'm patriotic in the sense that I think that these people are serving their country, but basically like they are like, they're following orders, but they're not like, I need to go out there and, blast all the enemies to hell. I think that's basically kind of a simple way to break it down. And actually, who would have known that was ever in there unless you maybe even asked him about it? Because I remember every time I've tried to read this issue, I've been like, there's so many words in this issue.
So do you know what the original printing said? Or I don't remember.
That is what yes, that is my research that I screenshotted them both.
Perfect. Let me can I just say one thing before you?
Oh, please.
Point out for anybody who maybe isn't that familiar with this or whatever. This book was about this Operation Lady Doomsday, it's called, and Lady Doomsday was referred to as Adele Burkhardt, who was sort of apparently anti-military sort of politician
like
or whatever,
a scientist, kind of. I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but like, kind of, you think of her as like a big like a scientist that is sort of creating what could be used as like weapons of mass destruction, but didn't want it to be used that way. She wanted to use it to better humanity, kind of thing.
Yeah. But Cobra kidnaps her, and then some people think, well, why don't we just let Cobra kill her? You know what I mean? Like some people think, and there's even references in the issue like we should just blow the whole place up. Why are we rescuing this person who doesn't even like us? So there's a few little references. So it's pretty interesting. So I mean, as a kid, I didn't really get it. I kind of got it, I guess, on a very superficial level. But reading it as an adult, you're like, boy, this is interesting stuff. Like Larry Hama was writing this toy book. It got kind of deep. So, anyways, what does the original panel say versus his new version now? Do you have that in front of you?
I do have it in front of me, and there's also like a couple panels before is exactly what you were saying, where it's like somehow Snake Eyes is signing to Scarlet like this big long thing, which is very much like a Star Trek kind of thing, which I think Larry Hama is like a little bit more like Star Trek than he is like Nick Fury, if you know what I'm saying. Like he's more of a philosophical kind of thoughtful guy. He goes, so Snake Eyes is saying this through Scarlet in sign language. How can the rights of an individual compare to the safety of an entire world? Shouldn't the B-52 bombing raid solve this problem with less risk? Basically, the needs of the many outweigh
it's like
the few or the one.
Right. It's like a Saving Private Ryan kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like military. They all those guys go to rescue this one guy. It's like, why are we doing that? Why are we risking our lives? So
Scarlet says it. Snake Eyes is like, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you
He's like,
talking
I
about?
have to go to the bathroom. I need you to help zip me out. You know where the
bathroom key is. Yeah.
Oh, help zip me out of this. Anyway, I'm going to do this in audio comic style as my name's Clay, right? Hawk's name is Clay. Clayton Abernathy.
That's right. Clayton Abernathy.
So after Snake Eyes gives his eloquent speech through his hands, and I'm going to read the original Marvel printing.
Okay.
So, couldn't the B-2 bombing raid solve less risk? That's my Snake Eyes voice. Clayton Abernathy. No, we're the good guys, remember? The island has a civilian population. Besides, it's not our job to judge Dr. Burkhart. And then somebody grunt. What's our job? And Clayton Abernathy says, we're soldiers. Our job is to follow orders, to do the impossible, and to make it look easy.
Mm-hmm.
The original version.
So that was the original version.
So then we slip to this thing that has, I say this is important to honor Larry Hama, and maybe people like want to pick up this book, maybe not, but if they just the idea, this has bothered him for a while and it's fixed now. So grunt, what's our job? And this is a much simpler thing. It's a different tone. We're soldiers.
Right.
Our job is to do the unthinkable and be forgotten.
Interesting. Yeah, it's not really about them or what they think. So there you go. They're just be forgotten.
It's not about rushing in there and being commandos. It's about doing the right thing quietly and humbly, kind of like a more like Japanese way, or like a ninja, the way of the ninja. Go in there, do your job, get out of there. Don't brag about it. So, and that's literally, that is it. That's the whole reason for this thing.
Yeah. And it does, cast it does change the tone of it quite a bit. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about, I'm going to assume that they were like, we want to put out issue number 1 again. And Larry Hama was like, hey, can you do me one favor? You know what I mean? But the rest of the book is exactly
top of his mind.
Yeah, probably. But the rest of the book is exactly the same, although I will say it looks fantastic. Like the coloring, the colors are vibrant. Everything is great. And some fond memories of this book. And this is definitely a great way to kick off. We already reviewed it. We don't need to go through the whole story. Then Stalker gets on the jetpack. It's a great thing. It's a great way to start the book like, and these are the characters, and this is what they do. Like they fight Cobra, they blow stuff up,
And you don't really know who Cobra is. You don't know who all the characters are. Like, there's no, with the exception of Hawk, you kind of, you go, oh, there's a girl. There's a
right.
ninja.
There's a guy who doesn't talk.
There's a black guy. Yeah, like, you don't really know, like, a lot about that, like, or Zap is like, oh, that guy is, like, technically proficient because he's gonna cut through the pipe with his laser so that they can get in there and hack the computers. But, and you kind of, like, get an idea of, like, what Cobra's like an organization, but they're not like Middle Eastern terrorists. They're not Nazis. They're kind of like how they came up with the idea of Cobra to be like, it's just some sort of bad guys and we'll make them look a little fascistic, but they're not that far off from just like another army that they're trying to fight, basically.
Yeah. They do that kind of Hail Cobra thing a little bit, but...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're not really... Then plus there's only Baroness and Cobra Commander. There's no other Cobras that are...
Right.
Like there's no Destro yet or anything. So it's very just generic bad guys in the red masks, which on the cartoon they always had black. Comic book was always red. Yeah, good stuff. But it was great. This was a great introduction for me to all the toys that I ended up buying. The Jeep, the Vamp. The tank, what was that called? The Mobat? I think we talked about
the Mobat. I think it's in the issue actually is kind of a little bit. It's like mobile battle unit or something. There's like actually kind of a file card in the issue for the Mobat.
Oh, that's right, in the back here.
And then there's a fun like backup story too, like the hot potato. Well, there's they reprint the cutaway. Everyone loves the cutaway of the pit, and they are like they have the hot potato story, and the Snake Eyes is in that, and rock and roll. They're just having fun, and I think there's file cards in the original issue, but I don't see them here of somebody peeling potatoes. Maybe I'm thinking of one of the yearbooks, but
I think you're thinking of the yearbook.
Yeah. Oh, this has the weapons profile is Vamp, vehicle attack, multi-purpose. It's just basically an army Jeep and the Mobat multi-ordnance battle tank.
Yep, multi-ordnance battle tank.
Mobat. And that's why that's how also like. That's why Larry was so great at this stuff, and the things that we like learned, like what the LZ was and stuff. Like we talked about this on the other issue, but he would like introduce like military terms, and then you like look it up and be like, yeah, that's what that is, and like.
Well, they'd have those little editor's notes of like LZ landing zone or whatever. Yeah, like they'd have those little asterisks. So where was this hot potato? Do you know where this came from? Is this just a story that was never?
Oh, it's in the issue. It's in the
the original Marvel issue. Or
it's in the original Marvel issue too. If it's not, it's definitely. I think that they even reprinted it in maybe the first yearbook too, because that was like filled with like a couple of short stories, and they put that in there too. Well, yeah.
I don't remember it. I kind of like it. We kind of get a little bit about Scarlet and Snake Eyes here. Kind of not much, but a little indication, like, because he goes back for her, and then she's kind of crying a little bit. So
yeah, and then you get like moment. Rock and Roll and Stalker being like pretty like. Yeah, like you kind of fall in love with them too. It's like, yeah, look at that guy with his long hair. Those guys are badass, like, action 80s action heroes. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's cool. This is a great little. If you're a fan, you should have it anyway. But if you're not, if you're just like sort of picking up this stuff now, this is a good, a good little way to learn what it was like back in 1982, and also just like, you get to learn the characters and everything.
And I tell you what, I bought every single person in the league a digital copy of it, and they were like $2 each.
Oh, really?
You know what I mean?
You didn't have to tell me that.
Like,
now he thinks you're cheap, dude. Way to go.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, you can read it.
I could have bought it myself for $2. I figured it would be like $10 or something.
No, it's you know, I don't know. I think I had ordered a hard copy of it too. I definitely did. I bought a hard copy of it to complete my collection because it's part of the original run, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I have a hard copy of it, but that was just regular cover price. It was like $4 maybe. But and you know, on Amazon, when they're like, if you choose to get this, you know, if you wait another day to get your ass cream, we'll give you $1 in digital credit. So I probably didn't pay anything for it to send those to you guys. You know what I mean? So, so well, anybody can read this, and like for cheap, you know, like it's cool. It's worth it. If you've never read issue 1, get the new version, because
ice cream.
It's the easiest way. And actually, I tried to like look digitally. I couldn't find. I have the volumes, so yeah, I guess IDW didn't reprint single issues. So I do have like Comixology volume of volume 1 on my Kindle, but that's like, you know, $10 or $15. Just get this. You just get started, and you're off and running.
Absolutely.
40 years from now, people will be like reading 301, thinking the same thing. Larry's like, oh, I wish I had...
40 years from now.
Yeah, 40 years from now, when Larry Hama's still alive, outliving all of us, he'd be like, there was something I wanted to change in 301. I should have thought about it when I was changing 1.
Yeah. But there are new G.I. Joe comics that we want to talk about as well. Not 40-year-old comics. Not written by Larry Hama, which is fine, but written by Joshua Williamson, who is very talented as well.
And maybe we can let our Joshua speak for a change.
Joshua, did you read? I assume we all read these, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was a huge fan of Duke issue 1.
Excellent.
It had for me, it kind of gave me vibes. First off, I didn't know any like backstory or anything. I didn't realize, like, I think probably at one point I read that they were doing like a shared universe with Transformers, but like
the Energon Universe.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was a nice surprise, even though I probably knew in the back of my head it was happening. I was just like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
I definitely got some G.I. Joe Renegade vibes from it, which is great. I love that series, even though it was only 1 season.
Yeah, it was good.
It reminded me a little bit of like the Brubaker Captain America too.
Mm.
Yeah, I got a little X-Files from it even too, like kind of you know, like the interesting thing is, so we have Adele Burkhardt who's back. It's like they reuse this character. I love that. This character that we were just talking about in issue 1. They kind of just recast her in a way.
This is what I wanted to say. Then I could let Josh speak again after really cutting him off so many times so far. But the Energon Universe. So there's a book called Void Rivals, which I'm reading, which actually is a standalone book. You can read it without reading G.I. Joe Transformers, but it introduces Transformers stuff in it, and also it kind of like the way they launched this universe was like so cool. Like something it's because in kind of like the Ultimate Universe, like it started with Ultimate Spider-Man, and then they reintroduced old ideas in a new way. And from what I got from New York Comic Con was they wanted to take elements from Kirkman is very much our peer, like as far as like pop culture and stuff is concerned. Like he grew up on all the stuff that we love, right? So he loved the movies, he loved Real American Hero, he loved Transformers, he liked the crossovers that they did. So they are cleverly saying, okay, we have a new universe, and how does G.I. Joe and Transformers, how do they come to be? And Void Rivals is kind of like the glue to it, because it's like, here's a space story that's almost like Saga or something, and then they introduce a couple of Transformers, and then with the Transformers #1 and Duke and the other book we're going to talk about later, like they kind of like, oh, this is how it all is coming together. So like they take elements from basically all of the stuff we loved when we were a kid and are like repackaging it and doing cool new stuff with it.
Yeah. So yeah, really quick. The log line here is that Duke he saw Megatron. He was on like a mission and he saw Megatron and he's like, what the fuck? And Megatron killed his pilot.
Starscream, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe it was Starscream. You're right. It was Starscream. I'm terribly sorry. He saw Starscream. Yeah, and he's like, and now no one believes it. Like, so he's kind of like, they're like, Duke, and he's like, I gotta get back out there. I need to kill that thing. And they're like, nah, there's no
need to go dance with some ladies.
Yeah, that's right. He tells Hawk's like, no, man. He's like, get out there, you know.
I wonder if I were to do this Hawk voice, it would have to be a different voice.
I think it would have to be a little more gruff.
Yeah, it's like a different.
Go out there and dance with some ladies.
It's like it's like Keaton Batman and then like Bale Batman. It's like it's a different They're both Batman to me, but it's a different one.
No, it's different. It's different. So yeah, Duke's kind of he's kind of in the shithouse here because he doesn't want to follow orders now. He just wants to go back out there and find out what's going on with this giant robot that no one believes that he saw. So that's where it gets kind of X-Files-y to me, because there's this whole other group, this sort of underground group that's like, oh, we know about these big robots, and it's kind of cool. And Adele Burkhardt is one of them. And spoiler warning, they all die.
No more X-Files.
So, I know. But I mean, he's like the one crusader now. Like, he's the one who knows, like, that there are Transformers out there. And it's kind of like Mulder. Like, there are aliens here. And they're like, nah, you're crazy. So,
you're crazy, kid. You're crazy.
And maybe Clay, you know, because he also finds, like, he goes into this Mars headquarters thing here, and he sees all these like Cobra tanks and stuff. So
yeah,
like we have to, I guess, keep reading to figure out what the deal is. Like, are they hooked up with the Decepticons? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I only know as much as you guys. I mean, they at Comic-Con, what they did was they said, oh, we're going to be introducing some of these classic characters, and they showed us like character designs. And you're like, okay, that's like a Cobra guy. That's a G.I. Joe. Well, wait, is that a Cobra guy or a G.I. Joe? Like, is he a good guy or a bad guy? There's a couple of guys like that, and yeah, so they didn't reveal much, and I gotta say, you know, IDW was like this too. Like, they're like, you know, no spoilers, anyone. Like, they were very careful. Like, I got the Ash can of Duke at Comic-Con, so it was like only the first, you know, maybe 10 pages or something. So when I read this Duke issue, was the first time I read the whole thing and colored and everything, and like there's a lot that happens in the third act of this comic. So
yeah,
you know,
yeah, definitely, yeah. So speaking of some. And now it's old characters, but like, so we spoke a little bit in email earlier. Clay is not that familiar with G.I. Joe, the movie, the animated movie. But this guy, Mercer.
That's crazy. I know, first I saw Mercer, and I was like, yeah, Mercer.
I kind of thought that was really cool, too. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wait a second. So he's one of Sergeant Slaughter's guys. I forget if they have a name.
Marauders, the Slaughters Marauders.
Slaughters Marauders. I love it.
The Slaughternettes.
We all know.
There were three of them. What was the other? I remember there was like a big bald guy, right?
Yep. He was a circus performer. His name was
Oh
What
man,
the hell was his name?
I should have done some more research, but I didn't remember Slaughter's Marauders. But
Everything's on Joepedia because I had to
I
look
know
some
it.
stuff
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I'm looking them up. But anyway, I thought they were really cool, and they were from that movie. So we're gonna do an episode of. There was I can't even find it. It's too much, but they were cool. So yeah, they in the movie they sent Falcon to go and straighten up, and Slaughter's Marauders are gonna straighten them out. But I forget what the other guys' names were now. I'm sorry, but it was good stuff, and I like this guy Mercer. So yeah, but here he's kind of a badass. He beats up Duke a little bit,
Yeah, and
but
he's sort of
the
working for
real
Destro, right?
So, but did he recognize him? Like, was he because he said stand down soldier, so like he knew he was a soldier. Like that kind of
right.
confused me. I was like, is he playing both sides? What's going on?
Yeah, well, because Duke is kind of rogue, you know what I mean? Like maybe he's just doing his job and catching this guy, and I don't know. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
well, it's only the first issue, so I assume
Duke's sneaking in, and he has like one of the longshoreman's caps on, but he's
right,
still like kind of decked out like he's a super spy a little bit. So he's
right.
like wearing the sweater that I now always my James Bond sweater that I always wear to my holiday parties at my family's house because my uncle who was in the army used to always wear this sweater too. Now it's my turn. Now I'm the uncle that's wearing the James Bond sweater
Nice.
to Christmas.
Oh, that's cool. Well, the big reveal at the end, though, that we should, I guess, if you should read this, I guess, before, or if you don't want to be spoiled, skip ahead or something. But yeah, like
Spoiler
they even
warning
say
now.
Duke has gone. Yeah, consider yourself warned. They're like Duke has gone rogue. We got to track some people down, like to catch an American hero. We got to use American heroes, and that they're going to send Stalker and Rock and Roll after Duke. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I loved it. Loved everything about it.
I mean, it's hilarious. What a way to introduce these characters, like you were talking about, Clay.
A,
Oh,
a couple things related to what you're saying. So, there's a big it's almost like it's a mini title, but when they introduce the guys on the last page, the Stalker and Rock and Roll, who also they're in Hot Potato, right? They're featured in G.I. Joe #1. They're the British version, or I should say maybe the toy original G.I. Joe toy was like called Man of Action, and he's kind of like
yep.
like Duke says, or Hawk is saying about Duke, you are a man of action, and they put it in like a mini sort of title, And then actually,
Yeah.
when I was scrolling through just now, you mentioned in the X-Files, I noticed that when all those guys get slaughtered, there's an "I Want to Believe" poster hanging in their
I
room.
did see that.
Oh,
maybe that's
awesome.
why I was. Maybe that's why I was thinking
But
that
all
too. Yeah.
intentional, I'm sure, dude.
Oh,
You're totally right.
I'm
The
sure.
vibe is you're definitely right on with that vibe.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was. I'm just gonna say this. I'm not saying that this was. I love this book, and it was better because I bought the first couple of Transformers Energon Universe books, and I was like, yeah, they're okay, But this one
Yeah.
really was cool. I really like this. I like the vibe. I like the art.
Yeah, me
So
too.
definitely down with this. And we also
I
got all
like
these. I don't know.
Josh Williamson as a writer. He's actually a writer artist too. I think he draws Transformers, I think, right? He might.
No,
No, he doesn't. Oh.
No,
Is he writing Transformers? No,
no.
it's
There's
Danny
like a
Warren
writer
Johnson.
artist. Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
I'm getting confused. But Joshua Williamson used to draw the Flash, then started writing the Flash, and then if you look at his DC catalog, it's insane. He did like he's done like Crisis. He's really prolific and a very talented writer, and like the greats, the modern greats, the generation before him is like Bendis and Hickman. Like, he is that good, and they're lucky to have somebody this good and somebody that actually from the panels and stuff. And when I went to the signing and I met all these guys, like, they just genuinely really care about this stuff. And Kirkman really is like, remember I was saying, like, when I did my comic, Jaush drew the panel, and then I gave you editor-in-chief credit, and you're like, I didn't do anything. I was like, well, Stan Lee Presents didn't do anything for G.I. Joe #1 either. But genuinely, like, Kirkman is shepherding this thing along. Like, he's got a lot of input. Like, he's giving the guys ideas and, like, making sure they're like, not up to snuff, but, like, they're all, like, in this world. He's writing Void Rivals. So, like, he's kind of, like, he really is, like, behind the scenes, like, really doing a lot of work to make sure these guys are coming up with good work, which they're going to, because this is amazing.
Yeah, and also, I don't know, long-time listeners, of which there are none, we used to talk a lot about G.I. Joe back in the day, that G.I. Joe Cobra series written by Mike Costa.
Oh, yeah, love that stuff.
Yeah.
With Chuckles and stuff, and so
turned Chuckles into, like, one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, right, and like Jinx and whatever, and all that. So if you were a fan of those, I would say as well, definitely pick these up, or at least pick up Duke. And also the next book, which we will talk about, or we can talk about now. I don't know. Are you guys ready? Anything more?
I'm almost ready. I want to say one thing.
Okay.
That I think that, and maybe just because we're, like, getting older and, like, we've been fans of the stuff our whole lives, right? But I've always kind of, and we talked about this a little bit, like, in our Substack thing, the Alfred letters, about, like, how DC tends to do, like, now it's like everything is multiverse, right? Like, everything is, like, the Flash movie and everything. It's like, oh, and then it all comes into one, and it's one thing like that. But anyways, like, I've always said that I love Batman. I love Batman the Animated Series. I love Christian Bale Batman. I like Ben Affleck's Batman. I like Chris Nolan's Batman, and I like Robert Pattinson Batman. And, like, those are all still Batman to me, but they're all very different, right? And, like, we have Larry Hama continuing his numbering, 301, 302. Like, I actually subscribed from tfaw.com. I'm going to get them all shipped to me now, so nice. I don't miss an issue. And that's its own, like, a Real American Hero. It's its own world, right? And then, like, IDW world, that was its own world. And there's even, like, I would almost say, like, there's a hybrid. Because Larry Hama wrote some of that stuff too. So that's, like, almost closer to, like, the Real American Hero continuity in a way. Like, it sort of plugs into that, I guess, a little bit, or maybe it's like a soft reboot of that stuff. I've never really read that. I actually read one trade and I didn't really like it. But but the IDW verse, and I thought that Fred Van Lente's run was really good on just a regular. It was just called G.I. Joe series. Like, it was like the main book while they had the Chuckles and Cobra stuff going on. Like, that's a certain flavor universe, like that. I fondly remember that stuff, and I love that stuff. But this Energon Universe, I think, really is something different and something new and something to be excited, like, something that gets us excited about it, like, 40 years later, to be like, oh, this is new. I have a Snake Eyes tattoo. I'm gonna love a new G.I. Joe thing. But this is, like, actually kind of like blowing me away. Like, I can't even, they're, like, saving Snake Eyes. You know what I mean? Like, Duke is the first book that comes out. So I'm just, like, I'm overly enthusiastic. I know that, but this, I really feel like just kind of the vibe about it is just really modern, great comics that I would like, even if I wasn't a G.I. Joe fan. I just think they're doing something different than IDW was doing. And what IDW did was awesome. It was great. But this is different and kind of, I think, in ways like it's better that they're starting fresh like this.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I mean,
Yeah, like
you're definitely not wrong, because I read it and I was just like, I haven't read comics in a while, and I was like, I'm reading comics again. I'm picking this stuff up.
there you go. Yeah, me too. I was kind of like, well, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, also like you said earlier, it reminded you of Renegades and whatever. Like it's G.I. Joe. But it's not. It's different and it's new and it's fresh. So, which is pretty cool when you can do that with this property that's been around forever. So, it's not just a toy book anymore.
Because you never know. Sometimes when people like change things around, people get upset. But I think this is good stuff.
I think so too. I agree.
And I read the first couple of Transformers comics, and I don't really read a lot of Transformers comics, so I didn't really. It's like, to me, it's almost like it's like Indiana Jones. It's good, and it's just not something. I'm just not into it really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I actually kind of like watching the Transformers movies because they're dumb. You know, like like they're big dumb action movies that that have robots in them, and like Stacy likes robots, so we'll watch robot stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not as into the Transformers stuff. But I think that,
well, it seems like they're going to be linked. So
yeah, they're linked. But I feel like
you may need to keep up with Transformers. I don't know.
I feel like from reading Void Rivals, I get my Transformers in that, and I feel like of course, I'm gonna get like a important crossover issues or whatever. But I feel like I feel like, as enthusiastic as I am about the Energon Universe, I feel like they're making it so that I don't have to read those to care about what's going on in G.I. Joe. You know what I mean? Right. I feel like they're keeping them pretty separate.
We'll have to see how close. I mean, obviously they want you to buy them both, so they're going to try to link them up as much as possible. But we'll have to see.
I'll probably, when I can have the option to, like, when it's in the whatever. I don't even know if I have an app that lets me read everything, but I probably do. But so when it's like when 10 issues of Transformers are out, sure, I'll probably read them all.
All right. Yeah, I'm sure they'll put them on whatever comics.
Digital whatever. I don't even
digital whatever.
Yeah, I don't even know. But between the press proofs we got and my Kindle app, and then I went into my old Comixology app and had to download the old IDW Volume 1, and I don't even know where any of my stuff is. It's like, what channel's Perry Mason on? Like, what streaming service? I don't know. Is it on? I think it's on Prime. No, it's on Max. I don't know. I don't know where anything is, but it's around. If you search around, you can find it.
You'll find a place to read this stuff. All right, so now we got to move on. There was another number one, or apparently it's coming this week.
When the episode comes out,
as you're listening to this, it will be out.
It is out. It is out.
Yes,
right now.
If you're listening, which you're not, this book is out, and this is sort of a companion piece in a way, however you want to describe it. But it is Cobra Commander number one.
I was a man.
Also by Joshua Williamson. And also, there were 5 pages in the Duke book. So, but this is the whole thing. And it is
also, I think you have to do the Chris Latta voice for a Cobra Commander no matter what, right? Like, he's the definitive voice for Cobra Commander.
So, here's the deal. As we were talking about Mercer, this one goes very heavily into the G.I. Joe, the movie, sort of origin, I guess, of Cobra Commander, right? And so, Golobulos and Pythona and Cobra-La and all this stuff. Like it just so on the one hand, like when I was a kid, now you're talking about getting older, right? When I was a kid, I saw that movie and it was like, what? What is this Cobra-La stuff? Like I thought he was just a mean terrorist guy.
Right, right. That's
You know?
and to me, till it's not like I've never seen G.I. Joe the movie.
Right.
I didn't I in the very Clay comic book way, I didn't consider the animated series of the movie canon. So that was my first be like, yeah, that's cool and everything, but that's not really what those guys are doing.
Right. Yeah. Well, so that was like G.I. Joe as a fan of the comic book, I always kind of and I watched the show and I saw the movie and all obviously, but I always considered like, oh, this is until they brought in like some of the weirder elements. But I was like, this is like just army guys fighting, like and then they started making like, well, we want a toy that can change color and stuff like that.
Red laser, blue laser.
Yeah, but I mean, I was always kind of like G.I. Joe is real life type of stuff, and then they have Cobra-La and weird, and I'm like, what? That's weird. But whatever. I'm old now, like you said, and I don't care. It's fun. People are familiar with this stuff. The creators are familiar with that. They're going with it. They're going all in on this.
They're using all the parts of the buffalo. They're using it all. They're using everything that could be associated with any generation that knows and likes G.I. Joe, or maybe he's never heard about it, and is now somebody might pick up this book and is going to go watch the movie for the first time or the 101st time.
Yeah, no, you're right. And you know what the interesting thing is, like they were talking about like the ultimate universe and stuff like that. And for a while, a lot of comics were like, let's try to make this seem like it could happen in real life. You know what I mean? Like that was like the big thing in comics for a little while. And now they're just like, no, there's these weird guys that live underwater.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Whatever. We're just leaning into it. So and they don't use technology. Everything is like living organisms.
Yeah, or it's like an element of I guess, I mean, it's not exactly magic, but it's like it's magic, it's forces. It's more like Doctor Strange than it is, Doc.
But Cobra Commander's like, no, we got this technology stuff is kind of cool. Check this out. Those little fly things that eat things, guys. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, so Cobra Commander is kind of on the outs now. But he's got an ace in the hole. And this is where I got the Megatron thing from earlier. Like, what is this? He's got Megatron like tied up in his lab here.
Yeah.
And he's like, getting information out of his head. He's like, oh, there's other planets and stuff. There's like all kinds of stuff. We don't just have to live down here. They're going to take over the whole world. They're going to take over all the world. So
if there was some sort of a device we could make for the masses.
Right.
The
masses. Yes.
But also, I don't mean to derail you from
no, I mean I was
from the reveal, but one of the great mysteries of even Real American Hero is like, what happened to Snake Eyes' face? So we found out that he was injured in Vietnam. Like, what happened to Cobra Commander's? Is he scarred under there? Is he just a regular looking guy? Like, what's up with that? I think maybe and please correct me if I'm wrong, maybe in the movie he takes his mask off and people are like, or he looks like a snake or something. I mean, I don't know. But this is where this Energon Universe origin of why he wears his helmet happens. And this is worth it, every single penny of this book.
I think in the movie he was revealed to have kind of like not like a full-on snake face, but something did happen to him with the spores initially.
Yeah, the spores got him.
It started to mutate him, so then he wore the mask.
Yeah.
And then, they turned him into like full-on Snake in the movie.
Yeah. Yes, so
And
go forward in time.
Globulus, Golobulos, whatever. Like,
Golobulos.
What is
Burgess Meredith in the movie, right?
Yeah. And did we talk about Burgess Meredith on the Planet of the Apes episode? I don't know. I think we did.
I don't know.
But like, yeah, what's his deal?
Well, he's the head of this Cobra-La thing.
Yeah, which like the Emperor.
Yeah.
In Star Wars.
Yeah, okay.
Right. That's a good analogy. Yeah, and Cobra Commander was just this kind of like scientists and whatever. But so it looks like to me, like, like when you think about like, where does he get such wonderful toys? Like, I'm wondering if he's like studying Megatron and being like, oh, so we can like look at this cool technology. Let me make some stuff, like, I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. But I'll say, so there's two big things at the end here that I want to talk about. So Cobra Commander kind of goes out into the world, and he's out in the middle of like some sort of frozen tundra or whatever, and he steals a car, but he's also got a guy with him. Now he says that this guy's name is. Does he say his name is Grunt, or is he kind of just saying you're just a grunt?
I think he's just saying you're just a grunt.
Yeah, right. That's interesting that they would pick that, though.
My favorite about the whole out in the world thing is his outfit from the episode of Transformers that he was in, where they didn't say he was Cobra Commander, but he was totally Cobra Commander.
Oh my god, I didn't even put that together. That's amazing. Yeah. That's right. He's basically that guy from the episode of Transformers.
Yep.
Oh my god. Fantastic. I know, with the hat and the coat, but the faceplate. Crazy. So you don't think this is Grunt?
I think it's Zartan.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's a guy with a beard, but yeah, then they pan.
It sounds like he's in a disguise because he was kind of like ragging on. He was ragging on Cobra Commander for not being in disguise.
Okay, look at you are putting all this together for me, because the last shot is, well, he says like, I'm going to have this name now, and I'm going to call myself Cobra Commander. And then they pan down to a little shack in the swamp, and it says Dreadnoks on the door. And the cover reveal for next issue has, I don't know if this is just our preview copy or if this was in everything, but I think it's in everything. The next issue Buzzer. 2, has Buzzer cutting off his faceplate. It looks like.
Oh my god, I loved it.
With his chainsaw. So,
I love Buzzer. He was always one of my favorites.
I know he's great.
And I don't know if they brought Zartan to the swamp in the animated show or the movie, but they definitely live in a swamp in Real American Hero. Like they definitely live in a shack down there. With all the whole family.
That was always the thing with
Oh yeah, because they were, when the Joes kind of attacked them, I remember the hello, adios.
Yeah, I mean it's so weird. I mean, when I remember first reading it as a kid, I didn't know what the Everglades. I didn't know what that was or whatever, but yeah, that's always been a thing. That's always been the Zartan's thing. Zartan and the Dreadnoks always lived in the swamp. So, yeah, this is another one like different than the Duke book, but still like in the G.I. Joe, vein. So in the, keeping with the theme. And I
also at New York Comic Con got the Cobra Commander Ash can. Or I had read the pages of the first few pages here, and much like when I read some superhero comics, and I think that they mean to do something very obvious, and they talk about it a few pages later, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Like, and it's not just because it happened off panel. It just kind of like am a little confused. So kind of like how in Man of Steel when Clark goes into like this like shack in the winter time, like Cobra Commander goes into this like bar, and he's like, they're like, what'll it be, fella, or whatever, and then he goes outside and there's like kind of like this like, it looks like it's a snowmobile, but it also kind of looks like a his tank.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a his tank.
And then I was like, okay, is that like for plowing or something? And then he's kind of like, Brett Calhoun will do. Your car will do. So what exactly happens? Like the guy turns his truck on, and then Cobra Commander run him over?
This guy.
Yeah, I think he just turned him to Jello with like some sort of device.
Yeah, maybe his little bugs or whatever. Yeah.
So that's when I was literally like, wait, what? How did I obviously kills him because they're like, hey, Johnny, you didn't pay your tab, and then he goes outside and the guy's like dead and blood, but it's sort of like sound effect of maybe turning the thing on, this car on, and then so I was in my mind what I wanted to happen was there to be a very sharp snowplow in front of this thing, and Cobra Commander snowplowed him into pieces, but I guess maybe he used his little goblin bomb.
An electric sound to me, so I think he had some sort of device.
I think Josh is correct. I agree.
I think you guys are both right because sometimes I'll read stuff and be like, wait, what happened? And it could be like completely obvious and I still don't know what happened.
Well, sometimes, you're just reading along. Sometimes I feel like I read a comic and I go back and I go like, what even just happened? I didn't even look at it. I was just reading the words and I didn't look at the pictures. I'm like,
that happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
It's like ADD or something. I'm just like, what?
I should stop and appreciate the art here. But yeah, I think it's the same sound effect that's this sort of zert sound effect that is used when he takes out those bugs later. So, yeah.
Okay, that makes total sense. And then, another clarification issue. So, the bomb goes off in Cobra-La, right?
Yeah.
And then that's what fucks up Cobra Commander's face. And he kind of looks like Christopher Eccleston in the movie, right? Like in the first G.I.Joe movie when they made that terrible, awful Cobra Commander in that movie. And they kind of have to rebuild him with fucking snakes and spores and guts and something, and like a snake bites him, and then maybe there's like a still part of a snake in his eye, and he's all bandaged up. I don't know what the fuck's going on these pages.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Yeah, the snake
Cobra-La science is very different and complicated.
It's magic. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that they didn't explain themselves well. I'm just kind of like, oh, what's going on there? He's got some Cobra-La stuff. And Josh, what's that Superman that issue? I think Alan Moore wrote it, and they put that like flower on him, and then he goes into dream state. Do you know what issue I'm talking about? It's like whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, because there's this like space alien like octopus basically that gets sucked onto Superman's chest, and it puts him into like this dream world. And they kind of like put this like a space octopus Cobra-La thing on Cobra Commander to heal him in this.
Well, it seems like too, like he had these spores, right? That was like a big thing. It was a big thing in the movie, and maybe like blowing that bomb released some of the spores too, So I don't know.
I'm gonna have to watch the movie tonight because all this talk about spores and Cobra-La, I think that's what's going over my head. I just don't have that.
I think you should definitely watch.
I don't have that in my like vocabulary about what's going on. I'm like waiting for the a little editor's note that says LZ, you know?
Definitely check it out. I mean, that's a whole story too. We will do an episode on that movie, but it was like a whole thing, and like we talked.
Are you down for that, Josh? You gotta hop on a movie podcast for that.
Yes.
That
all right.
I have it on DVD, ready to go.
Really nice,
excellent.
Nice. It is classic, and it's a whole thing too. Like I think we talked about it with Flint Dilley a little bit when we had him on. So go back and listen to that. But yeah, I don't think it's free to stream anywhere. I think if we would have to rent it, but it's worth it. It's fun. Oh,
it is.
It's good. It's fun stuff. So
I'm gonna buy it.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it's worth it. I love it.
Yeah.
I've always loved it.
It's got all. I mean, like you have to. It's
got Don Johnson.
Yeah, it's got Don Johnson and
it's not like I said. It's not like I've never seen it. I've just never seen it enough to remember anything about it. The old band, my first band, the Humanoids. We always used to talk about how Cobra Commander is on Roblox back, right? As a snake.
Yeah.
He would go, Cobra, la, 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 la. And sometimes I'll go on the page and just say, Cobra, la, 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 and leave like a bunch of snake emojis because like it's still like an inside joke I've had with those guys for 20 years. How hilarious.
It was like it's worth the $10, I think. But yeah, like it's a whole thing though. But I don't know, Clay. It's in the animated series continuity, so it might not be canon. You know, I'm not sure.
Well, as I said in the Alfred letters, I'm a multiverse guy. I'll let it all into my life, and if I can further expand on my enjoyment of G.I. Joe, I don't know if it's possible. I'm open to anything.
All right. Well,
for me, the TV show and like the movie, that was my canon. Like I didn't read much of the comics growing up.
I love it. We have this whole back and forth here now. Different canons. I did it all.
Different time.
Shows,
it was a different
show
time.
And comics. I
had a standing 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock at my house to watch G.I. Joe and Transformers. I watched it every day.
Yeah, me too.
And in the morning, I watched Heathcliff and ate a bagel before I went to school. A Lender's bagel. A shitty frozen Lender's bagel.
I used to eat those a lot. I used to have those a lot. One thing I want to point out too, and if you're a comic book collector and you're into like variant covers and stuff, there are some pretty cool covers for these books. They're really expensive, some of them, because they're like the 1 in 250. You know.
Yeah, that's right. You were like, put the David Mack on your order if you're ordering me one. And I was like, I don't think I can.
It's like $300 or something, or $200. So I was like, never mind. But but it's awesome. They're all awesome. They're all very cool looking. So,
and insider, I have insider information that I got from the horse's mouth. So going back to IDW, the amazing artist Robert Atkins. I have a Snake Eyes sticker on a Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow sticker from Robert Atkins on my laptop now. He was great and drew a bunch of Real American Hero. Still does covers, still does commissions. And I asked him, I was like, oh, so like the new series coming out and stuff. He's like, I was like, you gonna work on any of that stuff? He's like, yeah. Like there's a whole new thing they're doing, the new creative teams and stuff, and it's like they've asked me to do some stuff, and we all agree, and that they're gonna wait to deploy me. So like basically like kind of like let all the new people and your David Max, your Ramitas, whoever they get to do the covers, like they're gonna his stuff is coming. He's gonna be doing probably variants and regular covers for G.I. Joe, probably Real American Hero down the line, or other things. But he said he is still gonna work on G.I. Joe. He loves G.I. Joe. He's such a nice guy. He did a very League thing, which is, well, he's a professor at an art and design school, so he had his Comic-Con table with his college. So that the league thing is like, hey, can I sit at your table? And he doesn't have to pay like Artist Alley's fee. He gets to be away from everybody else. So, but the cool thing about that was there was actually like kind of a couple of annoying fans ahead of me, but I was able to sit there and just have a nice chat with them, and I bought like a stalker cover from IDW, and he signed it, and he was like very nice, just kind of like when I talked to David Mack too, and they're just like they're cool guys, and the guy's an amazing artist, and he draws the best Snake Eyes, so they're gonna be Robert Atkins stuff coming in the Skybound universe, but he's letting everybody else have the spotlight now because he did probably like 200 covers already.
Well, John and I were gonna work on a book many years ago now, but John had worked with him at IDW, and he did a cover for us for the book that never actually never made it, but it was very cool. It was really cool. Yeah, and John liked him, and I mean, I never met the guy, but seemed like a cool guy. But yeah, he drew a cover for us for a book that was never came out, but that's okay. Maybe it will one day.
Well, he loves G.I. Joe, and like he's like us. He's just like us. Right. He likes G.I. Joe. He likes to draw it. He likes drawing Snake Eyes.
I'll just have to write a G.I. Joe book.
Yeah.
All right. What else? We got anything else? Any final thoughts or anything like that you guys want to chat about? Or should we just sign off?
Pumped.
Pumped? All right.
I'm pumped, and we always said, because there's so many real American heroes, right? And that when we started Legend G.I. Joe, the podcast, one of our many sub-podcasts from the League, and saying like, okay, like we're not going to do 300 of these, but we're going to do, I think we said we were going to do key issues, right? Like, we're going to skip some, we're going to skip around, we'll probably do a silent issue at some point. The story of G.I. Joe 19, of course, maybe we talk about 46, which is the shirt I'm wearing right now. My first comic, like we're going to do key issues, but, this is a great way to kick off season 2, because then we can do G.I. Joe the movie. We can follow up on Duke, and I'm sure they're going to have a G.I. Joe book or a Snake Eyes book, and we get the opportunity to do new number ones, and we can follow up on whether whether I'm still reading Void Rivals 6 months from now, or whether we say, oh, Transformers is really good, you should check it out, that kind of thing. It's just fun. These are key issues for sure.
Indeed.
We get 3 number ones all in one podcast.
That's true. That's pretty cool. Well, thank you for inspiring us to do this, Clay. Thank you for suggesting that we read these books. Yeah. And thanks to you, Josh, coming on, taking time out of all
just being here.
Yeah, well, it's great. The old League is back again.
So, that's right.
I like it.
Thanks to you for listening. Don't forget to check out all of our podcasts, LeaguePodcast.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, Stitcher and Spotify and Apple and all those places. And
leave us a review. Send us an email, feedback@leaguepodcast.com. Follow us on social media. Since we've been doing the show practically not like right at the beginning, but I've been writing these comic book picks, and now they're on Instagram. So suggestions of what to buy for the week, and guess what? When there's new G.I. Joe comics, there's always a G.I. Joe pick. They always seem to find their way into the 3 comics that we pick every week. But yeah, we're keeping that going, and excited to have a new year, new season there might be 3 episodes of season 2 in 2024, but we'll get there. We've already promised G.I. Joe the movie. We can't back down on that.
Nope, no, we can't renege. No reneging.
I might even watch it tonight.
All right, then we'll have to do it soon. Oh my God!
I'll watch it again.
Okay, I'll have to watch it again. All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks again to you guys, and we'll talk to you guys later. Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe. Yo.
Duke's gonna be A-okay.
Overlander.
I wanted to say that for the episode, but yeah, like the big thing with G.I. Joe the movie was that Duke was supposed to die,